Hi, good morning. My name is Marilyn Michelle. Um, I decided to record this video while I'm here waiting at this port. Um, I kind of want to do an introduction of what I do for a living. I've already told you guys that I do. I've been driving for about 6 years now, so I kind of wanted to do a from a trucker chronicle, basically, like what I do on a regular basis. But I want to start from year one and kind of tell you a progression of how things have changed and whether for the good or for the bad. But yeah, so I'm just gonna start off with the year one right now. So when I first started driving, I guess I can tell you how I started driving, or how I got into trucking in general. So I started off in a big company, and I decided to get, they call it being sponsored, right? So I went to a company, applied for them, and I didn't have no experience. I didn't even have my CDLs at all. So they gave us the option of sign the contract with them, and you have to work for them a certain amount of time, and they will train you and get your license, everything, such way. So I went through the process. It was about 2 weeks, which is driving trucks. That's pretty short time frame, but it worked out because within 2 weeks, I was actually driving the truck. Excuse me, but not to say it was not difficult. Only thing I did not know is like the bigger companies, they don't train you on standards. Like I can drive a standard, just not legal because they never train me on that. The bigger companies, they're gonna train you on a automatic. So when you take your test to test out, you're gonna test out on a more likely automatic. Um, Now the good only benefit for me at the time was that it was so short of a period for my training that it took me a minute to even learn how to bag the truck up, because that's the main, in my opinion, part of driving. If you cannot bag up a truck, you really can't drive a truck, obviously. So 6 years ago, it was different. They had the laws were a little different. So I don't know. I think now I've heard that they have changed what the what you're supposed to be able to do as far as your maneuvers go. When I say maneuvers, I mean your backing positions in order for you to pass the actual test to get your CDL. So the first week I was in class for maybe a day or two just to get the orientation set up and everything, but also I had to test out to get my actual permit, because they don't actually give you a permit card. It's not like a piece of paper what you do when you have a Class D regular license. And thankfully I had already started studying for it, and I'm pretty good at tests anyway, so I pretty much tested out the first time I took the test. Um, Now, I did have an issue with the drug testing, and it was not because I was doing any drugs or anything. It's just that I guess something happened with the test, and I had to like get taken off training because they told me that I had to wait till my drug test came back, and it had came back inconclusive, which was annoying. Um, but when I did have to redo it, it was annoying because of the way I had to do it. But either way it go, I finally got that done. But that was like 4 days later. So at that point, keep in mind, I just said I only had 2 weeks, and they don't change it just because of that. And then they also the amount they charge you, it's a lot. I'm not gonna lie. The amount that they charge you to train with them, and you have to pay it back within your contract of driving for them. Well, if I known what I know now, I would just suggest a person to find a way to do it where you go to a college or something that has a class for it, because it's cheaper that way. More likely though, you're gonna have to either get have eligibility because of how your financial situation is, or you're gonna pay cash for it. But it's still way cheaper, like 3 or 4 times less than what I had to pay back, to the company. But like I said, the only benefit was that I was able to know that I had a job right after I tested out. Excuse me. So that was the thing, but I had to basically get myself into a mindset of going home every day, studying, making sure I know all the pre-trip about the truck, and then also understanding that maneuver. Because when I say that the truck and trailer does not go the same direction, that's something you have to process. It's in some people it's easier to them for them understanding, others not so much. For me, I had to see it, so I just basically did YouTube videos and watched it and try to see what it was like to do it and understand. I even went and bought an actual little Tonka toy truck and tried to like push it around, trying to make sure that I could understand how the pivot go, because that's the main part of this. You got to understand the pivot going backward, because it's the opposite of what you usually think. But then there is really no set, because like when you go to training, they're gonna pretty much try to tell you, oh, you turn a hard left or hard right, you gonna put it in hold. Like if they say hold, that mean the park spot. That don't always happen. You have to just get to a point where you just understand the pivot and understand what you're trying to do, and just make sure you get the trailer into where you want it to go. When I did it, they actually gave me 3 different maneuvers I had to do, which was the straight back, the offset, and the 90. The hardest one for me ended up being the 90, because I never really had time to train because on the 90. So when you get ready to take the test, they basically give you like I want to say, is, if I remember right, it was 3 pull-ups. So I just strategically told myself that I already knew how to do straight back and offset, so I'm just gonna use every pull-up for the back for the 90, and that's what I did, and that's how I was able to pass the test on the first time. The driving part of it going forward was pretty easy for me. It was like a no-brainer. I don't know why that was for me, but it was pretty easy. I only actually trained on that for like literally like 1 day, and they was like, okay, you're good on going forward, just keep going back for the rest of the week. So that's what I did, and I was able to pass the test in one go. And I shocked myself and other people, being honest, but I was very thankful that was able to. And so after that, they put us in training with a trainer on the road. Well, the company I went with, they didn't have a lot of female trainers at the time, so I had to get flown out for like Lewis, Idaho, I believe I was in. So I kind of got thrown out there to where I learned how to drive in the mountains pretty quick. My first run was from Lewis, Idaho to, I want to say San Francisco, I believe. I want to say it was Los Angeles. No, yeah, it was Los Angeles, California, I believe. And that was a doozy. Those mountains are scary. I'm not gonna lie. I did have a pretty good trainer as far as like her helping me understand, but the only thing about me is like I'm that kind of person where if you don't allow me to do it myself, I don't understand. I won't ever figure it out. So she was kind of one of the ones, like when it's time to bag up or whatever, she wants to get out the truck and tell you what, turn this way, turn that way, and I'm just like, I can't learn like that. So I kind of just started to a point where I was just ignoring her and doing what I had to do for myself and just figuring it out. And that helped me out so much more, doing that, of being able to just figure it out. And I was out there for a minute. I was out there for about, I want to say about 5 weeks, because they have it on, like, it depending on the company. Every company has like different hours you have to be able to come back and drive solo or by yourself. And so I think it was about 200 hours or something like that. So I was close to it, but it was getting to a point I was getting stressed out with the training, because I don't like being on truck with anybody else, being honest, because I have my thing about my space and the way I want to drive and do things, and she was not that for me. It was okay just because I knew I had to do it, but I finally got to a point I called them like, hey, is there a way I can get off this road early? So they finally got to a point. I said, okay, we're going to give you the longest run we possibly give you, which was from, I want to say it was from Los Angeles to New Hampshire. Yeah, it was. It was all the way up to New Hampshire. I literally crossed the United States in one turn. The last turn I did with a trainer, it was across the United States. And that was actually really good for me, because I told her that I was going to do most of the runs. So most of the time I just run my clock out. And when I say run my clock out, we have like drivers run on an 11-hour clock as far as drive times. Then we have 14 hours for the whole time to be on duty, period. So I just told her I was going to drive my whole 11 hours every day. So I get up super early, around 2 or 3 in the morning, just run. And I was able to get most of my time back by the time I got back to where I'm from, the area I was located at originally. Got my truck for myself upgraded. And when I say upgrade, I mean go to be solo. And I started driving by myself. Now, when I started driving by myself, I was on the road driving basically the whole United States. I did not like it because it was not what I thought it was. Honestly, it was more like, because I'm gonna tell you how my brain kind of processes. Maybe people understand the same thing I was saying. Like, I wanted to just drive and say, hey, at least I get paid to be driving. I wanted to be able to have my own space and be able to travel and do things and see things and get paid for it. To me, it's like a win-win. But that's not what happened. Is honestly, the reality was I was just running at these odd times of day. I always had low, so whenever I was a place that I wanted to stop, I couldn't. Just I was either on time frame of getting a load there, or I had something on my back, which I say on my back, I mean a trailer that I couldn't go park it to where I wanted to park it, or even like it's so many restrictions on trucks. Like I've never realized that until I started driving how many restrictions are on trucks, where you cannot go. Even if you're like don't have a trailer, it's still a thing. Sometimes the height issue, it gets really stressful. Sorry if you see me looking at something. I'm waiting to get a box put on my trash here. I dry containers right now. But anyway, so yeah, I just got to a point I realized that that dream I had was not the dream that I was living. So more like a nightmare. So it got to a point I just called my company and was just like, I would rather just go back. I would rather not go back, but I would rather go local if that's possible. So I told them like, hey, is there any local positions? Otherwise, I might have to go somewhere else. And so within a day or two, they called back and said, hey, we can put you local and see what we can do from there. And so they did put me local, and from that point, I pretty much have been local ever since. Um, and I also found out I made more money being local than I did being on the road, because there are so many times where they would just leave you out there with no load, or you just waiting, and you don't get paid to be just waiting, because that's what we got paid by the mile. So we deal. If you're not moving, you're not getting paid. So it's like that's not fair. Then they had the little like they have a thing where sometimes when you're sitting at a ship or a receiver getting loaded or unloaded, if it's like after a certain amount of time, depending on the company, it's different, but it's about an hour or two, I think, depending on the company, you will get some extra pay. But you have to just time it, because if you don't time it right, or you don't get your loads, macros, or whatever they call it, into the system, they will screw you over and you will not get it. Because I had to have me with the first company, which is also what made me come off the road, because I had a time I got to a pickup location to pick up. It's probably just a simple pickup down the road. It wasn't even that far from me, honestly. It was like an hour and a half away from my destination. And when I say I was there for 12 hours, because it's another thing. Drivers don't care about you. I'm gonna tell you that they don't care about themselves. So long as they get their situation resolved, they're fine. But they don't realize that you're causing other people problems. So I got there. Even the yard drivers don't have no sense. They don't have any sense either. I kid you not. I was there, and it was around COVID, when COVID had just started, so they wouldn't let people use the bathroom or nothing like that. And I was female, so that was an issue. And I had a little dog with me, so they was like, "Oh, you can get on the premises, but you can't go use. We don't allow you to use the bathroom." I'm just like, and the dog either. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do for like the next 10 hours? And I hadn't put in. I was told by my dispatcher to put in my loaded call to get them to come fix the trailer. Well, she must have been very like green around the gills, as they say, and she didn't know what she was doing. So they basically put in there that I had already started the load, and I didn't. I couldn't even pick the load up like I was supposed to and leave with it. So they didn't even pay me all that downtime that I was there for over 10 hours. And you talking about angry? I was so upset, and that was when I knew I was like, I'm done being on this road. And like I said, I was down the road. That was just my last run to get back home, and it was crazy. I literally got to a point where I ran out of time basically on my clock, and I could not drive anymore. It was just so crazy what happened that day, and I was so upset. And that's when I was just like, okay, am I gonna stop driving, or am I gonna just keep going? So it just happened. They called me back the next day. It was like, hey, we're gonna just put you local, and they did. And that kind of would help me to keep going driving. And so after that, everything started getting a little better for me. I was driving, I was making money, I was coming home. I would literally go in on earlier than like 6 or 7 a.m. and get off at like 3 or 4 p.m. And I just run and run and run, getting paid by the load. The more loads I ran, basically, the more I made. And I was just running them loads like they call it the last mile, and I was just dropping and hooking all day, and I loved that. The only thing I've learned about trucking though, it never lasts. Like whenever you have a good run, more times than not. Sometimes it does, but rarely for me. My own experience, I've never had anything that happened that was good or great for me in trucking to have last. But I did make it work for me because I did get something out. Because I've always been that person where I want to make things work for me. So that's what I kind of did. And so first year, I had my ups and downs, but overall, I did make money the first year. I think I hit about 55,000 the first year, and as a new driver, that's quite a bit. That is pretty good because I know drivers now that's been driving for years that don't even make days to this day. So it just depends on where you run, what company you work for, what kind of accounts you're on, and all that. But my first year experience, that's what it was. It was kind of like, I would definitely say it was worth it the first year after I got back being local. But being OTR, I don't think I would have stayed if I would have stayed on the road. It was just a lot going on with the road and the people driving on the road and the weather. It was a lot, and you fantasize about it and you think that it's gonna be something, and it don't end up being what you think it's gonna be. And that's kind of what really happened for me when I was on the road. So me coming back, it did help me to see that things will be better off if I just stay like, off the road and just come home every day. And I won't keep on talking about this, but I will say that I'm gonna go ahead and give you my experience for the second. I'm pretty much gonna give you some different stories that have happened, examples, and everything. Especially because as time progressed, it just got. I'm not gonna even lie to you. It got worse for me in some instances, and in some instances got better. But I have some stories to tell as far as like my experiences with the companies and what they have done. I won't say who they are, the companies or anything, but I will tell you what happens. It may pretty much all the companies I've had something similar happen to me. So I guess it's kind of like overall, and it's even as far as like people that you work with and the people that you work for. They're kind of similar as to how the trucking industry works out. So you have to make it work for you for it to work. But I just know people sometimes get that false um, thing about thinking that trucking is instantly just money. No, I know I've seen companies offering $15 an hour. They want you to have all this experience and all these endorsements. You looking like, I can go work for Walmart and Amazon and make more than that. Like, are you kidding me? And we have to be on all these regulations and stuff, and they still acting like, I don't know. I don't know what entitlement this transportation has gotten into, but it's crazy. But I will continue on another video discussing kind of some more examples on my second year and what happened and how that went for me. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here. Hopefully I get this box put on soon. And yeah, but it was nice talking to you guys. See you in another video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That will help me out. That helps me feel like I'm actually doing something. And somebody actually hears me and can learn from it. So that's kind of what I'm doing is to, help myself vent too though. So it's a win-win, right? But alright, I'm signing off. Talk to you guys later.